Carolyn Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. And these weekly confessions are going to run 15 minutes, give or take, and probably a little less this week, and I'll explain why in a minute. And season 6 is pretty much deep into an exploration of how do these AI models get our information and why do they present them the way they do? Pretty much. So how do we survive all of that? What can we learn? All right. So welcome to episode 34 of Confessions of an SEO. This past week, Google launched a spam update. And from what I can tell, many in our industry are just itching for that kind of thing to write about, but not to necessarily add to what we already know about spam updates. You know, it seems to be news that just the fact that one was rolled out. And like I say, everything I could see was pretty much repeating what Google had already said. And I see these collections of posts and articles. They kind of function in my world like mathematical echoes. Thing is, most of our industry focus on these lagging indicators. You know, things like waiting for Google's official webmaster's Twitter account to announce an update, or waiting on SEMrush's volatility charts so that when they spike, then they can start lamenting Google has somehow decided to kill independent publishers because their organic traffic has begun to fluctuate. So all of that. And one might want to call this hindsight SEO. So my question is, does it always have to be like that? So here we go. All right. Is maybe my Friday prophecy. So I'm actually recording this episode that you're listening to. I recorded it on Friday, August 21st, 2026. So the earliest time you could be listening to this would be on Tuesday, August 25th. See, 23, 24, 25. Yes. While I'm in my car driving back home from the mountains. So we are, as of this morning, Friday, complete with the August 18th spam update rollout. So on our standard clean content domains, the ones that I'm looking at, Google crawlers have gone completely quiet. So if you're someone who's looking at server logs every day like I do, it's hard not to notice that it kind of seems like a ghost town at the moment. And so here it is. You ready for it? I believe I see signs, and I'm willing to, I guess, put my money where my mouth is, that this is a core update about to happen. And frankly, like I said in the title, if it's Tuesday, I don't know where you are, but we are, I believe, right now in the Q3 broad core update, Google update. And like I say, I say that because of what my servers are showing me right now on Friday, August 21st. And I don't blame you for asking, but how could anybody know that a core is coming up? You know, when there's a spam update, they're typically, lately, over the last year, there's a corresponding core update. Now, not for nothing, and you probably didn't notice it, but sometimes a spam comes before the core, and sometimes a spam comes after a core. And if you are familiar with Google's Search Console, it's not Search Console, Search Status Dashboard, this is where they keep track of all the little things that happen. If you look at the ranking updates, it looks like a dance. It's spam, core, spam, spam, core, spam. Kind of like cha, 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 cha. Now, since the May core update this year, to this one that I believe is starting today, probably the latest on Thursday, but most likely, statistically, they announce on Tuesday. We're at 13 weeks between the two cores, and we have 4 core updates a year. So that would loosely mean that every 13 weeks we have a core update. And I would say there is no way that Google is going to roll a core update out on a Friday today. Core updates are massive server-side operations. And we know this because Google representatives like Danny Sullivan and John Mueller have confirmed that launching a major algorithm shift right before a weekend is rare. I struggle to remember when, and if someone knows one, make sure you post a comment. But it leaves the engineers on their weekend, and if something unexpectedly happens, they have to come in, and who wants to come in on the weekend? So it makes common sense. It's probably not going to be today. It's going to be next week when everybody's back in the office. And like I say, if past behavior is any indication, Google typically has launched core updates mostly on a Tuesday. So that's why I'm saying it's more mathematically probable that we're in one as I speak, even though I'm speaking on Friday. Okay, so let me tell you what I did last week. I'm looking at logs all the time, and thanks to my coding business partner as well, Kim Albee. She's a great marketer as well as talented coder. I'm happy to say that a lot of the breakthroughs that I've been observing in the server logs have been incorporated into a dashboard that we're calling the VizzEx quadrant dashboard. And it's a way to visualize in a fun way the nerdy part of log reading. So instead of, oh, look here, read this, wall of text, it's like, oh, goody, look, my content is being monitored by Gemini. Kind of fun. It's more fun to be able to say that. So while I was working on, something on the logs, Kim was starting to pull data to form a basis for citation studies. So going back to the part about waiting on Google or others to officially tell us, I personally don't like waiting. So this past week, I built myself a little edge piece of software that has and will continue to inform me when things occur. You might call it like it's a check engine light for Google updates. And it operates in the background as a sensor. And for instance, I knew by the beginning of August that Google was prepping for the spam update that hit on August 18th, a Tuesday. Now, I didn't know how to write much about what I'm seeing ahead of the core update. So I figured, that's when the idea came like, oh, let's record on Friday, which kind of lines up with the fact that this is my free time before starting a 3-day road trip back to Texas. So either we're in the update as of Tuesday, or I jump the gun and it's going to be on Thursday. All right. Now the future, what's the future of this little edge sensor? I don't know. I haven't talked in depth with Kim about how to incorporate the core update detection, but I will tell you, we already have the spam update detection in place for our AI Mastery members. The core signals are kind of a little different because it consists of 2 pieces, the absence of something and the presence of 2 additional things. So as I continue to study the aspects of this answer environment, I have to say that what I'm seeing as far as the content, that it's behaving more like a pipeline of content that can appear in a couple of places rather than the binary, either you're in the index or you're not in the index. So the four places I see, and I'm not going to describe them scientifically, I'm just going to tell you what they are. So the public-facing index search database, that's the one that we know is google.com. That's one. Another one is a flash extraction of answers, like a real-time, quick go to the URL, suck up what you need, and go back to the person who asked the question. And this can be very expensive for models. And in comparison to what the other models have to spend, Google might not spend as much as everybody else. So that's like the 1, 2. Okay, so the third one, they have a cache of answers that are stored in some sort of index that they can reach very quickly. I'd call it a flash index, maybe. They're cached or saved for future reference. And this is less costly for Google, but Gemini risks giving wrong answers or not having the latest information, like, for instance, the correct price on something. And then, I guess last but not least, there is content that moves over into the model's training documents. So, usually when a new model comes out, they tell you what date it's been trained up to. And what that means is they've added more documents into the training. So in that particular one, that's where a lot of publishers see their answers that don't provide a citation back to them. And it feels like, Google took it without paying them for it. And agreed, it's a low-cost solution for models is to just put them in their training. Now, the irony of all of these four places, the public index search database is the slowest, most laggiest of indicators, but it still is the one that people think determines how the appearances of citations go in the models. So, okay, well, and I'm sure since we're talking about updates, it's like, so who cares? What does it matter if we know an update is coming? There's nothing we can do about it besides the spam update is to snare spammers, and we're not spammers. We're legitimate businesses. Okay, but what if that take on what we can do during an update isn't actually true? What if there's some way to take advantage of a core update and what it actually does? That's what we're testing at VizzEx between the single variable tests and in conjunction with our citation studies of 30, 45, 90 days. I fully expect we're going to be able to provide some cutting edge analysis and have an answer on that. Because we don't just want to recommend anything until we see for ourselves and can predictably repeat that advantage. So for those that would like to join us and see how this little sensor may or may not get rolled into the VizzEx Quadrant dashboard, you might want to know there's an upcoming new session for AI Visibility Mastery. If you're interested in working with VizzEx Pro for your domain, this is a done with you type of program. A year of the software, a year of having a dashboard and its tools with direct training and access to both myself and Kim Albee, and I can honestly say right now that it's available at the lowest price it will ever be. So Google VizzEx AI Visibility Mastery Program. Or you can simply find the link in the description of the podcast. Or if you're on YouTube on the Confessions of an SEO channel, it'll be in there. You can also just post a question in the comments. All right, well, I'm Carolyn Holzman. And that's it for me this week as I navigate the highway back from my mountain fortress of solitude. If you hear a little wistfulness in my voice, it's there for real. Anyway, the VizzEx promise, right? VizzEx is the definitive global authority on how to make your domain and your content competitive for the LLMs to choose your brand. So go to VizzEx.com
VizzEx.ai. That's VizzEx.ai. Keep your server floor quiet and your HTML honest. And I will see you next week on